Organized crime has long been a shadowy force operating within legal loopholes, evading justice while amassing wealth and power. The Mafia, in particular, mastered the art of exploiting weaknesses in the law to control industries, silence witnesses, and manipulate legal systems worldwide. This video explores how the Mafia thrived through legal exploitation and the eventual downfall that came through determined law enforcement efforts. Have you ever wondered how criminal organizations managed to evade justice for so long? Let's dive into this mystery. The Mafia emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, primarily in Italy and the United States. Rooted in Sicilian traditions of secrecy and loyalty, these criminal organizations operated under a code known as Omertà, which ensured silence among members and protected their illegal enterprises. One of the Mafia's greatest strengths was its ability to exploit legal systems. They used seemingly legitimate businesses as fronts for money laundering and bribed law enforcement and politicians to avoid prosecution. The Mafia also exploited constitutional protections, such as the right to remain silent, preventing law enforcement from obtaining direct evidence against high-ranking members. Mafia families used cash-heavy businesses such as restaurants, bars, and laundromats to legitimize illicit earnings. By funneling money through these businesses, they disguised the origins of their funds and evaded tax authorities. In the 1970s, authorities discovered that New York's Mafia families controlled large portions of the city's garbage collection industry, using it as a front for money laundering and extortion. Judges, police officers, and politicians were frequently bribed to overlook illegal activities or disrupt investigations. This allowed the Mafia to operate with near impunity for decades. For example, in the 1980s, investigations revealed that corrupt law enforcement officers within the NYPD provided insider information to Mafia families in exchange for hefty bribes, undermining federal efforts to dismantle organized crime. Behind the scenes of massive construction projects and booming industries, the Mafia pulled the strings. They didn't just own businesses, they owned the very workers who built the cities. By infiltrating labor unions, crime families controlled entire industries, dictating contracts, extorting companies, and ensuring that no deal was made without their approval. If a business refused to play by their rules, equipment mysteriously caught fire, projects were delayed, and sometimes people disappeared. Justice delayed is justice denied, and the Mafia knew how to play the game. With millions at their disposal, high-profile mobsters didn't just hire lawyers, they built fortresses of legal defense. Court cases dragged on for years, buried under endless motions and appeals. John Gotti, the infamous Teflon Don, walked free multiple times in the 1980s, smiling as juries mysteriously ruled in his favor. Bribery, intimidation, and legal loopholes kept him untouchable. But in 1992, everything changed. A former associate broke the code of silence, turning the law into a weapon against him. The invincible Teflon Don was finally convicted, proof that no one escapes justice forever. For years, Mafia bosses lived above the law, shielded by loyal soldiers, a strict code of silence, and high-powered attorneys who knew every legal loophole in the book. Justice always seemed one step behind. That changed in 1970. With the introduction of the RICO Act, everything turned upside down. Prosecutors could now go after the bosses, not for pulling the trigger, but for running the machine. RICO made leadership liability a weapon. Suddenly, commanding a criminal empire was enough to put you behind bars. The commission trial in New York dismantled the leadership of the five families. The Maxi trial in Italy, powered by a single brave witness, Tommaso Buscetta, struck a devastating blow to the Sicilian Mafia. These weren't just courtroom victories. They were the beginning of the end, because RICO proved one thing: no matter how powerful you are, the law can still reach you. For decades, the Mafia operated in shadows, speaking in whispers, never leaving a trace. Investigators were blind, relying on shaky informants and dead ends. But then, technology listened, and it never forgot. Wiretaps and hidden mics cracked open the Mafia's walls. Suddenly, backroom deals and murder plots weren't just rumors, they were recordings. Just ask John Gotti. For years, the Teflon Don walked free, his charges never sticking. But in 1992, FBI wiretaps caught him in his own words, talking about hits, power moves, and his iron grip on New York. This time, there was no spinning the truth. The tape played in court, and Gotti went down. That was the moment the Mafia learned silence could no longer protect them. The Mafia's greatest weapon wasn't guns, it was fear. Omertà, the sacred code of silence, held the entire empire together. But the government found a way to break it. With the Witness Protection Program, loyalty had competition. A new name, a new life, a second chance, and it worked. When Salvatore "Sammy the Bull" Gravano flipped, he didn't just betray Gotti, he shattered the illusion that the Mafia was untouchable. One voice turned into dozens, and the once sacred code, it crumbled from the inside out. For years, the Mafia wasn't just feared, it was admired. Hollywood turned mobsters into icons. Books painted them as rebels with a code. But fiction shattered when reality exploded. In 1992, the Sicilian Mafia made a fatal mistake. They assassinated two national heroes, Judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. 2 car bombs, 2 lives taken, 1 country forever changed. Italy erupted, millions marched, politicians couldn't ignore it. The largest anti-mafia crackdown in history followed. Thousands arrested, entire networks dismantled. The message was clear: the world was done glorifying killers. Mobsters weren't anti-heroes anymore. They were terrorists in suits, and their time was up. The old guard may have fallen, but crime doesn't die. It adapts. And what came next was far more dangerous. Russian mobs ditched street crime for high-stakes money laundering, billions moving silently across borders. Mexican cartels turned the drug trade into a war zone with brutality the Mafia never dared to match. Cybercriminals took over the streets without ever leaving their homes, hacking, scamming, blackmailing from the shadows. These new organizations don't wear suits or swear loyalty. They wear masks, digital ones. They don't control neighborhoods. They control networks. No territory, no hierarchy, just code, cash, and chaos. Organized crime didn't end. It evolved, and it's hiding in plain sight. The golden age of the Mafia is gone. No more crime lords holding cities hostage, no more whispers of Omertà in dark alleys. But their shadow still lingers. Their stories live on through legends: The Godfather, Goodfellas, The Sopranos. Pop culture turned killers into icons and crime into myth. But while the screen fades to black, the real world still plays the game. And now we must ask ourselves, did we really learn from the past? Or are today's syndicates simply smarter, faster, and harder to trace? Can law enforcement keep up with a new generation of criminals, ones who don't leave fingerprints, only data trails? The war between justice and corruption never ends. The players change, the tools evolve. But the game never stops. And that's it for today's case. If you found this story compelling, make sure to like the video, share it with others who love true crime and legal history, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories where justice meets the unexpected. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and let the law speak.